crazy game. Having more time to reflect on it, is it 2 points lost or is it 1 point game? Like tough away ground.
It's 2 points lost, no doubt about it. I think, I think sometimes this is based on the context of scoring. If you end up with a 3-3 at Pittodrie, and if the scoring looks a slightly different way, then you have a different feeling about it. But I just genuinely feel that when you find yourself 3 goals up at any ground, at any level, I think that you have to have what it takes to see it out. I know that that's 20 odd minutes in the game that we're 3 up and there's still a substantial period of the game to go, but no, there's a genuine frustration from us all. We're not glorious in drawing games of football, but especially not being kind of 3 goals ahead. But I think what you do in the cool light of day sometimes is you do reflect, you do dissect. We've analysed the game within an inch of its life, and we can see so many good aspects in it, but ultimately there's big areas in there where we feel we can all get better. 1 or 2 elements of naivety in how we want to play, based on maybe a couple of guys, new faces, new players, maybe not understanding exactly what's required of them at times. But that's to be expected. I just felt that the Aberdeen's change and the 2 substitutions they make in the first half sort of spooks us, and it shouldn't when we're 3 goals ahead. And I think that from our side of things, the 3 goals are very, very avoidable. Just basic application of defensive principles, and I think that we ultimately could get ourselves a clean sheet in that. But no, we'll take the positives from it. It's disappointing to drop with 2 points, but we move on, and we have to move on really quickly moving into this game against Hearts.
Did you have a VAR briefing this morning, the Premiership clubs? Right?
No, well, there could have been, but again, I go on record on this one. I was asked the same question last night. I think I was one of only 2 managers that attended the last meeting at Hampden. So from my side of things, there's been so many areas, so many questions that I've asked. I feel as if we go around the houses just talking about the same things continually. Us providing video evidence, other clubs asking questions. I see at the weekend regarding head clashes and aerial challenges, which I've been banging on to you guys for ages and ages. So I think what I do at this point is put full focus onto my team, put full focus onto the bits that I can control, because one thing that really starts to grate on me and starts to annoy me is when you continually make cases with logic, and you don't feel as if there's any kind of return on that, and that's the best way I can put it. But again, I'm not saying that just to you guys. I've said that in conversations with the powers that be as well. So I think it is this point where I certainly don't roll over and take my medicine, but there's only so many things that you can influence on this, and I think there's only so many times I can keep talking about, bits that we see at the weekend, aerial challenges, guys getting bashed in the head and game playing on. I've spoke about it. We've had a couple of those instances where fouls have been given against us. How many more times can I keep saying all of this? So with regards to these meetings and sitting talking about things and no change made and no influence made, then I think I take a step back for that and I'll let everybody else go on with it.
So if the SFA or other clubs would be interested midway through the season talking about VAR and explain decisions, would you not be interested in maybe until the end of the season when things can change?
If I'm being honest, it's probably the wee bit where I just become a wee bit emotional about it and I just say I'm not interested in speaking about it anymore. And does that make us an easy target? Does that make us a group of people then that seem as if we're not fighting for our cause and not standing up for what we believe in? No, absolutely not. It's just that I am so strong-willed in so many of these things that when we speak as football people and when we keep identifying the same concerns, we say that because, and I did say this last night as well, when you've got so many people, managers, coaches, assistant managers, people all around football clubs that are what I call proper football people that have spent a lifetime in the game and dedicated their life to the game, want the best version of it, want the best outcome for it. I think that generally you're going to get some really good answers and some really good cases put forward, and I think sometimes if we don't run with that, then I think that can be naive. I stood in a technical area with a man that's been managing for over 40 years last night, and Neil Warnock, he's probably been there, seen it all, done it all, and I think that when you speak to him after the game and the various concerns he's got by what he sees now as well, then there's a heck of a lot of experience in that and a lot of football knowledge there, and some strong opinion. I think when you don't listen to these people, and probably us all as managers united, then as I say, that's where I get to the point where I take a little bit of a step back, and I'm absolutely fighting for the cause here at Motherwell. But you know, it probably leads me on to a situation where we got a goal disallowed last night for what looks like, or what's said to be a clear and obvious error from the referee. As I say, we do dissect the game. Apparently, obviously 2 hands from Callum Butcher, which I think's a push on McGrath at the back post area. But the exact same incident happens with Paul McGinn, gets pushed over with 2 hands in his back from a free kick inside the penalty box. So probably my argument now goes to, if we don't get that decision and we don't get that goal, then surely we must get the penalty, because if there's a consistency in all of this, if that one's a foul, then the situation with Paul McGinn and Pittodrie, to have a look at that as well, it's a carbon copy of the 2 hands in the back. So again, level of consistency, trying to get these things lined up. Are we checking those instances? Well, if somebody doesn't hurl herself in the ground and collide with a goalkeeper, then I don't know if we're checking them. So again, just that order of consistency and probably clarity is probably the thing we need to be looking for as well.
So how's Andy Halliday?
Yeah, Andy's had a bit of an issue with his calf. That was how he missed out yesterday. Obviously disappointing to lose him, because he's been really influential for us. But he had a niggle with his calf. Calf was a little bit tight, hence why we took him off fairly early in the Ross County game. And he felt he was probably in a decent enough position to obviously continue training and playing. But again, probably a few eyebrows raised why I didn't start him against Morton, and that was simply it. There was just a bit of tightness in the calf, and then from putting him on the pitch there, he just had a little bit of reaction. We're hoping it's nothing too serious, but ultimately that's what ruled him out of the game yesterday.
Obviously you can't play Saturday anyway, but expect to be back for the next game?
I hope so, yeah, I hope so. Andy's never really had, touch wood, he's never had too many muscle injuries throughout his career. He's in fact, I don't think he's had any at all in speaking to him, so I think he knows his body really well, but that idea of, I think his last start being, I'm sure it was April or something like that for Hearts, and then he goes and plays that 3 games in 6-7 days, whatever it is, then obviously that starts to have a wee bit of an impact in the body. We were really conscious of it, and as I say, that was why I left him out against Morton, because I didn't want a reaction, I didn't want him pulling up with any injury, but I'm hopeful that it's nothing too serious, and as you rightly mentioned, he can't play against Hearts at the weekend anyway, so maybe in missing this weekend we'd be hopeful that he'll be fit and ready to go the week after.
We seem to make a difference at Kettlewell, just in that time he was on, just by getting the ball down and calming things down a wee bit. Maybe that experience could have helped last night. Is that kind of key to get somebody like that back as well, just to help these young guys? Yeah,
I think it goes without saying. I think everybody's seen the influence that he's had on our team, how good a player he is, the calming influence, the combative nature. I think sometimes we miss that bit out, and how clever he is at turning the ball over and intercepting the ball to put us into good attacking positions. But his influence with his voice and his experience is pivotal. So would it have helped us last night? Yeah, I think we'll all make an argument in stages that would have been a real influence to us and a real help to us. But he wasn't available. It's as simple as that. I thought that we did play at times, again, a lot of lovely football and created several chances at a difficult venue, but quite clearly we brought Andy to have that influence, and as much as we can have him available, then the better it will be for this football club.
Just actually one more about set pieces. Obviously there was a kind of spell towards the end of last year when it was a bit of an issue with the goals you can see, and seem to have got better the last couple of games. Obviously you've conceded goals from set pieces. Is it important to just kind of stand that out? Is that a confidence thing as well when you get to that stage? Yeah,
there's individual jobs. I've been round the houses. I'm a total geek when it comes to looking at set plays and analysing opposition and my own team setups and all that sort of stuff. I hear all the murmurs every single week. You always get the guy sitting behind you in the stand that shouts, "Leave one up the park." You leave one up the park and you're one shot inside your box. You leave one up the park and somebody wants you marking the back post when the ball goes in the back post. So it's all kind of it's all relevant, it's all reactions to what happens. I keep saying that you can't cover every base at a set play. If anybody can tell me that you can cover the front post, the front area, the short corner, the edge of the box, the back post, and leave one up the park at the same time, I would encourage you to go and try and do that with 11 players. It's not possible, as well as marking the one in the goalkeeper as well, by the way. So it's not possible. There's always something that you miss. There's always something where, an area where you're short in a player. I have an idealistic way of looking at how you mark from corners, free kicks. I've got this idealistic way that I think works the absolute best, where there's a clarity and a certainty of how you do that. But there's also a part of it where if you concede goals and you go through a spate of conceding goals in these situations, then it's so naive of you as a manager to just keep doing the same thing. So sometimes to the naked eye, people keep thinking you're making the same mistakes. I can assure you that we're constantly trying to adjust to try and avoid conceding from set plays. All of that said, whether it's part zonal, part man marking, all zonal, whatever it comes, there's an individual responsibility, and the goal that we conceded last night is quite clearly an individual error of judgment to not match the man that you're marking, and generally that's where these situations fall. That's generally where you concede goals if you switch off to the role that you're asked. So as much as we can adjust the setup, what I have to do is make sure that I'm trying to get into the mind of the players that level of concentration is 100% when the ball's delivered into your box. And if we do that with real determination, sticking to your task, then you can avoid conceding goals. But as a manager, you always take responsibility. But from my side, there has to be that ownership to the job allocated, whatever it is. Even if you think that you're up against it with the physicality of the guy you're picking up, then that concentration and just that awareness can avoid these situations.
Stuart, you saw Hearts up close and personal on Sunday. What did that tell you about the game this Saturday?
That tells me it's going to be a difficult game. I think that game at the weekend just added to what's been a very good run for Hearts, and coinciding with some good form. They've obviously put themselves in a good position in the league. They put themselves into the next round of the cup. They're scoring goals. They look pretty mean defensively, and they seem to be onto something at this minute in time. I've always felt that Tynecastle's one of the hardest games that you'll get in any season, no matter how they're playing, how they're performing. But it just so happens that we go there and go and play against a Hearts side that seems to be firing on all cylinders. So I got to see them up close and personal, but there wasn't a lot of surprises. I know they've got a lot of good players. They've invested heavy in their squad to get the best group that they possibly can, and they seem to be clicking at this minute in time. So it's going to be a tough ask for us. It's going to be a tough game for us. But we found ourselves 3-0 up at Pittodrie and playing very, very well. So if we can reach those heights, then I genuinely believe we make a game of it.
The last time you were at that Tynecastle, you won as well, down to 10 men also. Looking for much the same.
Yeah, we showed great resilience that day. We showed great character, but also some terrific football in stages as well. Some really good football. But again, going to Tynecastle is going to draw on all these elements. What we do when we attack them has to be sharp and it has to be precise. But we're a striker that's in the form of Lawrence Shankland, among others that service him. Guys like Forrest, Vargas, all these types of boys pitching in, Scott Fraser coming into their team. They carry a lot of threats, so we're going to have to be good defensively, and we're going to have to be well structured to try and counter the threats that they'll undoubtedly bring.
You've got Theo Bair though, scored 10 goals this season. You've got some form yourself.
Yeah, Big Theo's managed to get another couple of goals last night, and it just keeps going a real good run for big fella. He's brimming with confidence at this minute in time. Go back to we were asked the question, how do you replace the goals that you lose with Kevin Van Veen? While trying to get as many players as close to double figures as you can, and Big Theo's done that with plenty of games to spare, and we hope we can kick on from now as well.
Last question from me, how's the squad looking from last night?
Yeah, we've got a few bumps and bruises. We've got one or two knocks and niggles for guys that played in the game, so we'll assess it today into tomorrow. But I would be hopeful we'll be pretty close to the same group of players that went to Pittodrie.